Imagine this. You're at a job interview. You've spent years perfecting your craft, honing your skills, treating people with respect, and following every rule in the book. You sit across from the hiring manager, answering every question with honesty, sincerity, and professionalism. Now picture someone else, a competitor for the same position. This person didn't put in the same effort, didn't play fair, and didn't hesitate to bend the truth. They know exactly what the interviewer wants to hear and will say anything to get ahead. They exude confidence, make bold claims, and create an illusion of success, even if it's not real. A week later, you get an email. Thank you for your application, but we have decided to move forward with another candidate. That candidate, the one who lied, exaggerated, and manipulated. Why does this happen? Why do the worst people seem to succeed, while those who play fair get left behind? It's not just in job interviews. Look at history. Look at business. Look at politics. Time and time again, the same pattern emerges. The ones who lie, deceive, and act without conscience are the ones who rise to the top. Is this just bad luck? Or is there something deeper at play? Most of us are raised to believe that success comes from hard work, honesty, and playing by the rules. We're told that if we do good, good things will come to us. But reality doesn't reflect that belief. The world doesn't operate on fairness, it operates on power. And the ones who understand that first are the ones who get ahead. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this better than most. He wasn't interested in comforting illusions. He was interested in the raw, uncomfortable truth about human nature. He saw morality not as a universal law, but as a tool, one used by the powerful to control the weak. The problem isn't that the world is unfair. The problem is that we expect it to be. So the question is, what do we do about it? Do we surrender to the game and become just as ruthless as those who exploit others? Or is there another way to rise, one that allows us to succeed without losing ourselves in the process? To answer that, we first have to understand what power really is, and that means looking at one of Nietzsche's most radical and controversial ideas, the distinction between master morality and slave morality. Morality is not what most people think it is. It's not an eternal truth handed down from the heavens. It's not an objective set of rules governing human behavior. It's something far more sinister. According to Nietzsche, morality is a product of history, shaped by those who hold power and those who don't. And to understand why the worst people succeed, we need to look at the two fundamental types of morality. The first is master morality, the morality of the strong, the rulers, the conquerors. It is built on values like strength, courage, ambition, and dominance. To those who embrace master morality, what is good is what empowers them. What is bad is what weakens them. The second is slave morality, the morality of the oppressed, the powerless, those who cannot impose their will. It does not celebrate strength, it glorifies submission. It teaches that humility, obedience, and suffering are noble. It tells people that power itself is evil, that those who succeed must be corrupt, and that the weak are morally superior simply because they are weak. Why would anyone adopt slave morality? Because they have no other choice. If someone is too weak to take power, the next best thing is to convince others that power is immoral. That way the strong are shamed into holding themselves back. Slave morality isn't a conscious choice. It's an adaptation, a psychological defense mechanism that allows the powerless to cope with their lack of control. But here's the problem. It doesn't stop the ruthless from rising. It enables them. By teaching that power is evil, slave morality leaves power in the hands of those who reject morality entirely. The strong do not hesitate. The strong do not ask for permission. And in a world where hesitation equals defeat, the outcome is inevitable. This is why history repeats itself. The most powerful people are rarely the most moral, and the most moral people are rarely the most powerful. Because morality, as most people understand it, is not designed to create strength. It is designed to restrain it. But this raises an uncomfortable question. If morality is just a tool in a power struggle, then what should we do? Should we abandon it altogether? Should we embrace ruthlessness? Or is there another way, one that allows us to transcend both weakness and cruelty? To answer that, we have to go deeper into the psychology of power. And to do that, we need to look at why hesitation is the single greatest weakness in the battle for success. There are two kinds of people in this world: those who act and those who wait. Those who act shape their own destiny. Those who wait are shaped by the will of others. Imagine two warriors standing on a battlefield. One moves with confidence, takes what he wants, and never hesitates. The other holds back, waiting for approval, hoping for fairness, seeking permission before he strikes. Who survives? Who rules? The answer is obvious. Hesitation is the enemy of power. It is the difference between those who lead and those who follow, between those who create the rules and those who obey them. And yet, society conditions people to hesitate. From an early age, we are taught to wait our turn, to seek validation, to avoid stepping on others' toes. We are told that good things come to those who are patient, that if we just work hard and stay honest, success will come. But the people who rise to the top don't wait. They take. Look at the most powerful figures in history. Julius Caesar didn't wait for permission to seize Rome. Napoleon didn't ask if it was fair to declare himself emperor. Every great conqueror, every dominant ruler, every titan of industry, none of them hesitated when it was time to act. Meanwhile, those who spend their lives waiting for permission are left behind. This is the fundamental difference between those who succeed and those who don't. The ruthless recognize that power is not given. It is taken. But does that mean that we have to become ruthless to win? Not necessarily. The mistake most people make is believing that they only have two choices: be ruthless or be weak, be the predator or be the prey. But Nietzsche offered a third option. The true path to power is not about mindless cruelty. It is about self-overcoming. It is about rising beyond both hesitation and ruthlessness. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not seek permission, but does not need to exploit others to succeed. It is about mastering the game without being enslaved by it. Because power is not about hurting others. It is about refusing to be controlled. And if you can learn to do that, then the rules of success will no longer be a mystery. You won't have to lie, cheat, or manipulate. You will simply take your place among those who shape the world, rather than those who are shaped by it. The only question left is, are you ready to stop hesitating? The world is not a level playing field. It never was. From the moment you are born, you enter a system where power determines everything. Who gets ahead, who gets left behind, who rises, who falls. It is not a world built on fairness, but on competition. And in competition, there are only two outcomes. You win or you lose. This is not a comforting truth, but it is a necessary one. Because those who refuse to accept it are the ones who suffer most. They move through life expecting justice, believing that their hard work and kindness will be rewarded. They think that if they just follow the rules, success will come. But the people who truly rise, the ones who dominate in business, politics, and society, do not sit around waiting for fairness to deliver them anything. They understand that in a world of limited resources, waiting is the same as losing. Power is not something that is handed out as a reward for being good. It is something that must be seized. And those who hesitate, those who assume that the world will eventually recognize their efforts, are the first to be trampled by those who have no such illusions. Imagine two climbers scaling a mountain. One is cautious, carefully placing each step, afraid of making the wrong move. The other moves with purpose, taking risks, reaching higher with every motion. One hesitates, the other climbs. Who reaches the top first? And more importantly, who never reaches it at all? The reason the ruthless rise is not because they are inherently more skilled, more intelligent, or even more capable. It is because they refuse to hesitate. They understand a brutal truth about life. When you pause to consider whether something is fair, someone else is already moving forward. The game does not wait for you. And if you do not play it with full awareness of how it works, then you will simply become a pawn in someone else's strategy. The strongest competitors understand this early. They don't waste time complaining about injustice. They learn the rules of the game and use them to their advantage. This is why so many of history's most powerful figures have been those willing to act when others hesitated. But this raises an important question. If the ruthless are the ones who win, does that mean morality is a weakness? Does that mean that the only way to succeed is to become just as cutthroat and unrelenting as those who rise by stepping on others? Not necessarily, because while the ruthless often rise, history also shows that they often fall. And when they do, they fall harder than anyone else. Power is a double-edged sword. The same qualities that allow a person to rise, aggression, manipulation, dominance, are often the very things that lead to their downfall. Look at the stories of history's greatest tyrants. They built empires on the foundation of their own ambition, crushed their enemies, and ruled with absolute authority. But what happened to them? Julius Caesar was assassinated by his own allies. Napoleon was exiled, then defeated. Countless kings, dictators, and business moguls have climbed to unimaginable heights, only to be torn down by the very people who once supported them. Because power taken without wisdom is power that cannot last. Ruling through fear might get you to the top, but it creates enemies in the shadows. Manipulation might open doors, but eventually, people see through deception. And when a person's entire foundation of success is built on ruthlessness alone, all it takes is one moment of weakness for everything to collapse. The problem is that most people who seize power do not understand how to hold on to it. They mistake control for leadership, intimidation for loyalty, and dominance for true influence. But real power, power that lasts, is something else entirely. It is not just about taking, it is about building. Those who understand this are the ones who succeed in a way that endures. They do not need to manipulate, because their power is earned, not stolen. They do not rule through fear, because they inspire instead of threaten. The ruthless may rise quickly, but the wise remain standing when the dust settles. So if the answer is not to become completely ruthless, then what is it? How does one succeed in a world that rewards the manipulative without becoming just like them? The key lies in understanding power, not as a weapon, but as a tool. And that means knowing when to act and when to hold back, when to strike and when to wait, when to be relentless and when to be strategic. Because while the worst people might win in the short term, true power belongs to those who do not just play the game, but master it. Power is not what most people think it is. It is not just brute force. It is not just manipulation. It is not just taking what you want without consequence. Real power is the ability to control your own destiny. Most people do not have this ability. They are controlled by external forces, by fear, by doubt, by the expectations of society. They hesitate when they should act. They wait for permission when they should move forward. They live in a world where they react to circumstances instead of shaping them. This is the fundamental difference between those who succeed and those who don't. The people who rise to power are not the ones who complain about their circumstances. They are the ones who reshape their circumstances to fit their vision. They do not wait for permission to lead. They step forward and take it. They do not hope for things to get better. They create opportunities where none exist. They do not allow fear to control them. They use it as fuel. And this is where the ruthless have an advantage. They understand that hesitation is a liability, and they do not let guilt, doubt, or fear stop them from making the moves that will secure their success. But again, ruthlessness alone is not enough. The world is filled with people who climb to the top only to fall because they lack the wisdom to hold on to what they had gained. So how does one rise to power without making the same mistakes? The answer is by developing controlled power. Controlled power is not about reacting emotionally. It is about knowing exactly when to make the hard decisions. It is about understanding people, not just manipulating them, but reading them, anticipating their moves, and knowing how to navigate their ambitions. It is about balancing aggression with patience, dominance with strategy, confidence with restraint. The difference between a reckless conqueror and a true leader is control. And the difference between those who succeed temporarily and those who succeed permanently is understanding the difference between destruction and creation. The ruthless play a short game. They rise fast, burn bright, and collapse under the weight of their own ambition. The truly powerful play the long game. They build something that cannot be easily taken away. They establish a foundation that outlasts them. They do not rely on fear, because fear fades. They do not rely on deception, because lies are eventually exposed. They rise not because they are willing to do anything to get ahead, but because they are willing to do the things that actually matter. Power is not something you wait for. It is something you create. But the question is, what will you do with it? Because how you answer that question determines everything. Most people believe they only have two choices in life. Either they play the game like everyone else, following the rules, waiting their turn, and hoping that fairness will eventually reward them. Or they abandon morality entirely, embracing ruthlessness and doing whatever it takes to climb to the top. But what if that's a lie? What if the belief that you must either be a victim or a villain is just another form of control? The world convinces people that there are only two paths: submission or domination. Either you obey the rules, hoping that playing fair will bring you success, or you throw your morality away and step on everyone around you. But Nietzsche offered a third way. A way that allows you to rise without being enslaved by the same power games that trap everyone else. A way that does not require you to beg for fairness, but also does not demand that you become just as ruthless as those who exploit others. A way that allows you to transcend both weakness and cruelty. This is the path of the Übermensch. The Übermensch is not just a stronger version of an ordinary person. The Übermensch is someone who has shattered every illusion that holds most people back. They do not live by the moral codes designed to keep them weak. They do not accept society's idea of what is right or wrong without questioning it. They do not see power as something evil, nor do they see morality as an excuse to avoid responsibility. They understand something that most people never realize. True power comes from within. Most people seek validation from others. They want permission to succeed. They want approval before they take action. They hesitate because they are afraid of judgment, afraid of failure, afraid of stepping outside the lines drawn by society. The Übermensch does not wait for permission. They create their own path, their own values, their own destiny. This is what separates them from the ruthless. Because while the ruthless seek power over others, the Übermensch seeks power over themselves. And that is a far greater kind of strength. Most people think of power as something external: money, status, influence. But real power is internal. It is the ability to act without fear, the ability to move forward without hesitation, the ability to define your own worth, instead of relying on others to tell you what you deserve. The ruthless seek power because they are empty inside. They believe that controlling others will make them feel whole, They believe that if they dominate, they will never feel weak again. But this is an illusion, because no amount of external power can compensate for internal weakness. And that is why the ruthless always fall. The Übermensch, on the other hand, does not need external validation. They do not need to prove anything to anyone. They do not chase power for the sake of controlling others. They cultivate power within themselves. And because of that, their power lasts. It does not fade when people turn against them. It does not collapse when they face challenges. It does not disappear when circumstances change. Because it is not built on illusion, it is built on mastery. Mastery of fear, mastery of doubt, mastery of self. The Übermensch does not avoid competition, but they do not need to cheat to win. They do not avoid power, but they do not need to destroy others to take it. They do not avoid success, but they do not chase it out of desperation. This is the third path, the path beyond weakness and ruthlessness, the path of true power. But how does one walk this path? How does one compete in a world that does not wait for the kind-hearted, without becoming just as cutthroat as those who exploit it? It starts with understanding the game. Imagine you are playing a game of chess. Your opponent is ruthless. They will lie, cheat, and do anything to win. If you refuse to play, you automatically lose. If you play with the belief that your opponent will be fair, you also lose, because they will use your assumptions against you. But if you play with complete awareness, if you understand the nature of the game without becoming corrupted by it, then you have a chance to win. Most people lose in life because they do not understand the rules of power. They assume that if they work hard and stay honest, success will come naturally. But the world does not reward effort, it rewards strategy. The ruthless understand this. That is why they rise so quickly. But their mistake is believing that strategy and morality cannot coexist. They believe that success means abandoning kindness, abandoning ethics, abandoning everything except raw self-interest. This is why they fail. Because the greatest power is not just the ability to take, it is the ability to create. And that is something the ruthless can never do. So how do you compete in a world that rewards the worst people without becoming one of them? The answer lies in 3 key principles. First, stop expecting fairness. The biggest mistake people make is believing that if they just work hard and do the right thing, success will come naturally. It won't. Power is not given to those who deserve it. It is taken by those who are willing to reach for it. This does not mean you must become ruthless. It means you must stop being naive. Learn how power works. Study those who succeed. Understand the strategies that allow people to rise. And use that knowledge, not to exploit, but to protect yourself from being exploited. Second, develop strategic empathy. Most people assume that morality and power are opposites. They are not. The best leaders, the strongest competitors, and the most successful people all have one thing in common. They understand people. They know how to read emotions. They know how to anticipate motivations. They know how to see the game being played beneath the surface. This is what allows them to succeed without deception. Because when you understand people deeply, you do not need to manipulate them. You already know how to navigate their ambitions. And third, cultivate inner power. Most people are controlled by fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of standing alone. The Übermensch does not allow fear to dictate their actions. This does not mean they feel no fear. It means they do not let fear stop them. They embrace discomfort. They take risks. They step forward despite uncertainty. And because of that, they do what others cannot. They create. They build. They shape the world instead of being shaped by it. This is the real secret of power. It is not about stepping on others. It is not about ruthless domination. It is about refusing to be a slave to hesitation. It is about seeing the game clearly and choosing to play it on your own terms. The ruthless rise because they understand power. The Übermensch rises because they master it. The only question is, which one will you become? Most people chase power without understanding what it really is. They think it's about control. They think it's about forcing others to obey. They think it's about accumulating wealth, status, influence, things they believe will make them untouchable. But real power is none of these things. Real power is the ability to build something that lasts. The ruthless rise fast because they take shortcuts. They manipulate, deceive, and exploit. And for a while this works. They gain influence. They dominate. They make people fear them. But fear is a weak foundation, because power built on fear is power that will eventually collapse. Look at history. The most brutal rulers, the most corrupt leaders, the most ruthless business moguls, they all fall eventually. The very methods they use to climb to the top become the reasons for their destruction. They step on others to rise, but when they slip, no one is there to catch them. They build empires on lies, but when the truth comes out, everything they built crumbles. They create enemies at every turn, but when their power weakens, those enemies strike back. The greatest mistake the ruthless make is believing that power is something you can steal. But stolen power never lasts, because power is not just about taking, it's about creating. And those who create are the ones who build legacies that outlive them. Power that lasts is power that does not need deception to sustain itself. It is power that comes from true value, something so strong that it cannot be taken away. This is why the truly powerful are not just rulers, they are visionaries. They do not just take from the world, they shape it. And this is the difference between temporary power and real power. Temporary power can be seized through force. It can be taken through manipulation. It can be gained through fear. But real power cannot be stolen. It can only be built. And that is why, in the end, the ruthless always lose. Because while they spend their lives trying to dominate others, those who understand true power spend their lives creating something greater than themselves. And creation is the only power that lasts. Most people go through life waiting for fairness. They believe that if they just do good, if they just work hard, if they just stay patient, success will come. But the world does not reward patience. It rewards those who act, those who seize opportunities, those who take risks, those who refuse to wait for permission to become who they were meant to be. And the people who hesitate, the people who let fear dictate their choices, are the ones who are left behind. This is the ultimate truth about power. It is not something you wait for. It is not something you ask for. It is something you create. The mistake most people make is assuming that they are powerless, that they are trapped by circumstances, that they are at the mercy of a system designed to keep them down. But this is an illusion. The world does not decide your power. You do. The people who rise in this world are not necessarily the smartest, the strongest, or the most ruthless. They are the ones who understand that success is taken, not given. They are the ones who refuse to let hesitation control them. They are the ones who understand that power is not something you steal, it is something you build. And the moment you stop waiting for fairness, the moment you stop expecting the world to reward you just for being good, the moment you take full responsibility for your own success, that is the moment you become truly powerful. Because the people who shape history are not the ones who complain about the game. They are the ones who learn how to play it, and then change the rules entirely. So the question is not, will the world ever be fair? The question is, will you keep waiting for fairness, or will you rise despite it? Because the only real power is the power to create your own path, and the choice to take that power has always been yours.